Good deal. Smart. Yeah, he's just your back. That's probably good. That's a good thing.
How many times?
Twice as good. 30.
Now is the time to bring this meeting to order of the Bulloch County Commissioners. I would like to welcome the media and all visitors. I would also like to remind you to silence your cell phones and other devices so that we may conduct this meeting in a public meeting in a business type order without interruption. If you will stand, we will have the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. May we pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for our country, the United States of America. We ask that you bless our country, our state, our county, and the cities and neighborhoods and communities that make up our county. We ask a special blessing upon our meeting tonight, that we as commissioners will make decisions that benefit our county and the people of this county, as they, the voters, have charged us with that responsibility. But most of all, dear God, we ask you to forgive us of our many, many sins that we have committed. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Venus, would you have the roll call?
I, Venus Mincy White, President as Clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman Roy Thompson, Vice Chairman Ray Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Jackie Stringer.
Aye.
Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
I've determined that we have 6 members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens. I now yield the floor back to the Vice Chairman.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Ray Mosley on the election yesterday. He'll be returning as a county commissioner in 2005. Also, Mr. Kurt Newkirk, who will be a new commissioner in 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I would need a motion to approve the zoning agenda.
So moved, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Second. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye, raise your right hand, right hand. That's 5.
Is everybody unanimous?
All right, I'll turn it over to Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. First item tonight is a conditional use request by Stephen and Tanya Bragg, who have applied for the conditional use for a home occupation cottage industry. This property is located at 2500 Clary Road. The parcel acreage is just over 9 acres at 9.38. It is an Ag 5 zoning. This location, again, is on Cleary Road, generally referenced south of Brooklet, as shown on the map. This is the current zoning of the property. Again, Ag 5 and surrounding properties are Ag 5, mostly agricultural use, and some single-family homes adjacent to the parcel. The parcel, as shown on the aerial photo, was previously used in agricultural use. The applicant has a building permit for a single-family home and a shop to be located there, which those building permits were obtained in time and in proper manner. These are the photos of the property when we placed the zoning sign for this case. And then for reference, this would be the entryway to the property, in which, as you can see, there's some construction for the building of a single-family home on the property. Let's see, and then with that, staff recommends approval. There's one condition that staff recommends, and then Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a denial by 3-2 vote at their meeting. So with that, I'll turn it over to, I guess, Mr. or Miss Bragg, if you're here. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate everything y'all do for us. I'm sure y'all been busy with Helene and everything. I know I have. I guess the biggest two things that was a discrepancy in our property or whatever was the impact my equipment would have on the dirt road. Everything I drive down the road is exactly the stuff that people put on the road every day. The biggest item I have is a bucket truck. It weighs about 32,000 pounds. The other, I guess, thing was the conditional use permit we applied for, which was approved, but we were only supposed to wall in 2,400 square foot, which we agreed to. It hasn't even went into the erection phase yet. So with that being said, is there any questions that anyone wants me to address?
You gonna use any of this with your disposal? 'Cause I know you do tree service for a
Yes.
living. You gonna do any burning?
No.
As far as what your, I know, understand property needs to be cleaned up or whatever.
What
I understand that.
we have burned out there, but I took 60 trees down to put the driveway in.
But you're not gonna use it as far as
No,
your
no, no,
business
no.
for disposal?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
If the disposal of the trash that he collects and any burning that he may do, what is the procedure that the county, could we cancel his permit to do that, or this?
Well, I mean, any burning, I think you're supposed to get a permit from Georgia Forestry for that. So I don't, but I heard you say you're not gonna be doing any
No, I don't
burning? Is
burn.
that
I currently
right?
haul to the landfill, which is currently
What
closed.
kind of business is this?
I own a tree company.
A tree company, okay,
Yeah, I cut residential and commercial.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think the Forestry Commission does burn permits anymore, but they've got,
Oh, they don't?
No.
yeah, they've got guidelines that you're supposed to follow. So, if you do it,
What about the piling of trash? If, you, instead of carrying it to the landfill, you carried it out there and put it in?
No. We don't haul nothing. I got a stack of receipts this big if you need to see them.
So you're not going to put any of that?
No, sir.
You collect out there?
No, sir.
I think that's what most of your neighbors were concerned
No,
about.
sir. They has been stuff burned, but if you see the little narrow driveway going into the property, 60 trees were removed to put a driveway there. In fact, when I applied for the permit, I had code enforcement call me about the stumps. I had grinded 57 stumps, run out of diesel fuel left. And I kind of thought it was humorous because of all the stumps all over Bulloch County that they would talk to me about that. But I own 3 grinders, which I have grinded those stumps as well since.
Any other questions? Is someone opposed?
Yes, sir. We have some folks that signed up to speak in opposition. So I'll call them.
Okay. I'll save the rest of the time for later. Thank you.
Donna Borwick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me. If you look on this map, this little teeny tiny square on the main road on that curve, that is my house. Yes, that is my house and my other house. There's 2 houses there. I am exactly, from my back door, 100 feet from his property line, okay? And he wants to bring in a commercial tree business that has a lot of equipment. I mean, I know of at least 2 bucket trucks, dump trailers, stump grinders, tractors, bush hogs, and those are just the things that I have seen him, bringing over there. I'm sure he probably has more equipment than that I'm not naming. So if you bring all that over there and he's wanting to build this shop that he says he's building, that will not fit enclosed in that shop. And in a cottage industry, it has to be in cottage. It cannot be out. So, I mean, that stuff's gonna have to be housed somewhere, and it won't fit in the building that he's wanting to build. Not all of it, anyway. And I want to venture back to what he was saying about how he had burned there for months and months and months before they started building their house. Every afternoon, he would bring dump trailers in and dump huge piles of trees from trees that he had cut down from other jobs, and he would bring there and burn. He was not burning just the trees that he cut down to make his driveway in. He was burning stuff that he had cut down on other people's jobs. And so, that's a concern to me is also, because if you'll see this open part of that field, he has put his house directly behind mine. So when I walk out my backyard, I am looking at the front of his house, just like I'm looking at you right now. It is that literal. He had that entire field that is at least 3.5, 4 acres that he could have put that house anywhere on, but he chose to put it directly behind mine. So it kind of, makes me wonder, was all this other open field, what does he have in mind for it? And if you do decide to make this commercial, what is the buffers as far as that? I mean, what is the recommendations and what are the county laws as far as being able to have buffers and stuff between property that is that close? That's a question that I have not had an answer to. So, and the last thing is he has employees. I don't know how many, but his plan is for all these employees to meet him there every morning, park their cars there, and then they meet there every afternoon and go home from work. Well, I don't know these employees. I don't know how they're vetted or if they're even vetted. They're total strangers to me. And I live alone there. And that concerns me. I mean, that really concerns me that I have these strangers, and I'm sure he probably does have a lot of turnover in that type of business, of these strangers that are basically in my backyard. I mean, not quite far from it. And so that's my other concern. So that's it. But thank you.
Pope, could you answer her questions that she had about the question she had about this?
About,
The cottage industry standards in the ordinance allows for some activity outside of a building, but that operation would have to be kept behind a fence with a fence or buffer, which a buffer, it'd have to meet what the zoning administrator felt was appropriate, probably a 8-foot to 15-foot buffer that, you wouldn't be able to see on the other side of it. So whether it was used as a fence or a buffer, but to meet that condition and others in the ordinance, it'd have to be something with, something substantial where you can't just
Right.
see the,
Well-
and that would be worked through, after this section or after this process.
Right.
The zoning administrator would be responsible
Well-
for making that inspection.
I lived in Richmond Hill for 15 years, and I moved to the country for a reason, peace and quiet. And trucks and stuff coming in and out like that every day is not peace and quiet. So, but thank you for your time.
Claudia Hazel.
Good evening. Thank you for letting residents speak before you. I am Claudia Hazel. I'm co-owners of Hazelnut Pastures. We are diagonally across the street at 2385 Cleary Road. Stephen and Tanya Braggs own Bragg's Tree and Stump Removal Business, and according to Georgia Class Code 2702, tree removal business is considered manufacturing industry. It is a service for homeowners and businesses. It does not produce a product. It offers a service to the community. They are applying for a cottage industry permit. Cottage industry is a small business that operates within the cottage or home. According to Bulloch County zoning, all activity related to the business shall be conducted in closed structure or sufficiently screened from the residents. As Ms. Donna was talking about, she is very close. In Mr. Bragg's letter of intent, he stated that no work will be performed on site and tree care is done on other premises, which means they're not actually going to be working there. It's not a cottage industry. They're a manufacturing service. Currently, all their equipment is parked in their yards. I have some pictures of that, which includes all kinds of stump grinders, bucket lifters, all that was mentioned previously. They conduct their, it's the next or previous ones. Yeah. The pole barn, well, I can skip to this. This is the burn pile that they burned on the property on Cleary. It smoldered for weeks. It is bigger than Miss Donna's house. There is another picture of their current house at 1701 Patty Lane in the Leaford community. It should be one of, it's directly behind their house where they have burned. So to say they take it all to the dump is untrue. We have another resident of the county, Jody Baker, who lives just around the corner on Doe Road. He is owner and operator of Baker's Backhoe and Septic Business. He has a home office in his house, but none of his heavy equipment is parked or housed at his home. He has all that equipment located elsewhere in Brooklet when not on a job site. I'm asking the commission to require them to house their big equipment somewhere other than on Cleary Road, which is a residential agriculture site. Did you find the picture?
I think so, yes.
Yes. So this is their current house where they are located. You can see their equipment and the huge burn pile behind their house.
Jeremy Hazel.
Evening, Commissioners. Mr. Connor, you asked a great question. Have you burned there before? When they bought that land, they literally brought in a bunch of stuff before we even knew what was going on. And we have the Google satellite photo proves they burned a bunch of stuff there before they even cleared the land to go there. And so that's our biggest concern. And I'm just going to leave it at that, leave time for my other neighbor to share her concerns, but I appreciate your time going over this issue tonight, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Leah Saucy.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak as well. Can you go back to the first picture with the outline of the property? As Donna pointed out, her house was the small house. My house is the other small box there adjacent to their property on the bottom of the screen. As you can see, our property is adjacent to theirs. We moved into our house about a year ago to escape busy city life and to move to the country. And all of the property around us was agricultural, so we thought that's what we would be getting. We have children that raise 4-H animals and love the 4-H life, teaches them responsibility, that sort of thing. But we did not move to be next to a commercial business. And we did not move to have traffic going in and out. And as he said, they would store equipment there, which means that employees will be coming in the morning and picking up equipment, and in the evening and bringing it back. The cottage industry standards do say that they have to operate between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. exactly, and I just ask who's going to regulate that? I also have concerns about the road because, like he said, he does have bucket trucks and large trucks with dump trucks. If they're loaded, they're going to be even heavier. Who's going to regulate if they're going to come in and out the road? Will the county provide more help with clearing out our road? Our road is a dirt road. I don't know if everyone knows that, but it is very difficult to get up and down the road sometimes when it just rains. So with traffic going in and out from a business constantly morning and evening, it is a big concern for us that the road will be even seeing more destruction more quickly. Ultimately, we just feel like it won't help the community at all to approve the permit for them, and we really would like them to just please have their large equipment stored elsewhere. Thank you.
Mr. Bragg, you and your wife have time left on the clock if you'd like to come and speak again.
As far as them saying we hauling trash in when we bought the place, as you can see, that's a pine thicket. You couldn't even get a car through there. We didn't even have a driveway pipe. So I don't know what they're talking about. I did clear a big, large section behind it to put the shop, which still has trash there that I need to get out. I have logs still stacked there. We burned a pile of limbs when we first bought the property. My wife has since went out there and planted evergreens all in front of Miss Donna's property. And if I could make them grow, I would have them 60 foot tall by now. But if a fence is required, I have no problem putting a fence all the way around the entire property. 20 foot, I don't want to see them either. Whatever it takes, I'm just asking for approval and y'all make the recommendation and we'll go with it.
Commissioner, do you have any discussion or questions, Mr. Bragg?
Mr. Bragg, I think the biggest piece I seen was a 55-foot bucket truck.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that single axle?
Yes, sir. I got a bucket truck. I have two 250s. I have a 350. I have a 7x16 dump trailer. That's the biggest trailer I have. It's not big dump trucks. It's not 18-wheelers. It's none of that. I have 2 chippers. I have 3 stump grinders, which are pulled on a regular equipment trailer, a 10-ton trailer. It's not substantial weight. The only thing I have that's substantial is the bucket truck itself.
Any other questions by any of the commissioners?
Mr. Bulloch, you explained about the cottage industry, there was a question about whether this was a cottage industry or not. Will you explain why this is a cottage industry?
I'll do my best. So with cottage industry, it's kind of in between your home occupation, which is a smaller scale up to 2 employees. Then the cottage industry is geared more towards the ag areas that, maybe a slightly larger scale up to 6 employees. And so it's, it may be a cabinet shop or, there's a whole range of things that it could be. But we felt like this was consistent with what had been approved in the past. But as far as, I guess the best way to explain it in my mind is that it's an in between a home occupation and something more on a commercial scale where you'd have to go get a building, in a commercial area. It's just, the number of employees and the traffic generated from cottage industries are typically very minimal. And so it is something more geared in the ag areas where you have more open space and just the type of businesses that we see request this type of use kind of go along. It may not be this specific service, but it's something, they may make, rafters or something for buildings. There's just a whole host of things that we try to see if the, what impacts it would have on the area, and we just felt like it met that what was defined in the ordinance and what had been approved in previous times. So.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman, get to that. Mr. Bragg,
Yes, sir.
one question I want to ask.
Okay.
Jeff, we can't regulate where Mr. Bragg puts his house, can we?
No, I wouldn't think.
Where he puts his house?
Yeah. The question was kind of brought up about where he placed his house at behind,
Well, as long as it meets setback requirements and
okay.
things in the zoning ordinance, he's got as a matter of right, he could.
Where he wants to put it.
He'd have to meet setback requirements and,
Okay.
but other than that, I don't know of any other.
Okay. Another thing, you agree to put up a fence, so
Oh, yeah, definitely.
they say fences make good neighbors, so.
Please tell me 8 foot.
Okay.
Because we've done checked in it, and they say our front yard can only be 4 foot high. Well, that's not gonna barricade nothing. So if we can go 8, let's go 8. But we
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, if we're ready for motion, I motion to approve this conditional use of cottage occupation
With conditions.
with condition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
We have a couple of points to make, please.
You have 48 seconds.
You go.
Can I approach?
Yes, you have
Can I
48
suggest,
seconds.
Vice Chairman, can I suggest that the motion be withdrawn then because, and whoever made the motion can withdraw it, because you don't need a motion on the floor and then more speaking.
I'll withdraw the motion. I'll withdraw it.
Sorry, we were just trying to get everything in the time. One thing, Mr. Simmons, this might be important for you too to understand. They do have a building permit for a big pole barn, 72 by 40, which is 2,880 square feet. That is actually over the 2,400 square feet required by the cottage industry license. So where's all that equipment going? It has to be housed in that pole barn. What happens when it goes over that pole barn and goes out into the yard and goes everywhere else? That's the question we just kind of had for the commissioners even to know what is our repercussions as neighbors when things get out of hand, if they do. Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Mr. Akins, would you respond?
Well, I would also invite Mr. Pope,
Yeah.
because he's probably deals with this more on a day-to-day basis. I don't think the equipment's required to be inside a facility. It
Right.
does have to be screened. Is that right, James?
The way we interpreted the ordinance was that the equipment would not have to be housed within the building, but it'd have to be screened as previously mentioned. That question did come up at Planning and Zoning Commission about the square footage of the shop. And I believe at the time, and Mr. Patton may have to chime in here too, but I think there was some division of the building, or there was some something that would limit to that square footage, but I admit there's not, it might be a little difficult to control on that, but it sounded to me more like, I guess at the time of application, that the actual use of the conditional use would be more equipment stored on the outside, not necessarily within the building. And so,
Well,
I don't know if that answers
to
your question.
clarify some of the equipment now, am I understanding this by the tablet, it's a 9.38 acre tract of Ag 5 land? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, as far as the tractors and the trailers and the stuff like that, I mean, he's on Ag 5. He can have as many tractors and trailers and Harris and rotary mowers sitting on that if he wants to. Now, I think what's that question is the bucket truck and the 2 grinders I seen, it's the tree stuff. And that building will house a single axle 55-foot bucket truck and 2 grinders. And if that's a question, I mean, but like the tractors and all, I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to. He could park them there now without any variance. I mean, it's Ag 5 land, it's agricultural land, and you can park a tractor and stuff like that on Ag 5 land. So the thing in question is if they want him to put his bucket truck and 2 grinders under the shelter or in the barn, I guess that could be done in 2,400 square feet, but the tractors and all, I don't know how you would have to do that.
Here's what the ordinance says. This is relevant. It says, except for outside storage of materials or equipment, all business operations, activities, and transactions associated with the cottage industry shall be conducted entirely within the primary dwelling unit and are in an accessory building located on the same lot. So you can have outside storage of materials and equipment, but any activity, like if they're making something, and I think his activity, it sounds like if he's in the tree business, is going to be conducted off-site. Is that correct? I mean, you're not going to be cutting trees down on your property.
Unless they become a problem, I'm not cutting.
Okay. So I think, this particular use, it sounds like the actual activity of the business is not going to be really conducted on the lot unless, I guess, there's some servicing of the equipment or something of that nature. But, I mean, if you want to consider approval, you could put a condition on here about fencing. I think maybe there is a condition already. Is that correct? Yeah.
One thing too, you may consider is, I believe you could probably put a condition on there about the burning, if you're concerned about bringing logs on site and then burning them. I mean, if there's evidence that, there's burning on site, but there's no trees being cleared on that property, then that would be pretty evident that they're coming from off site and being burned. So, I mean, I think if you wanted to regulate that, then we would have standing in code enforcement to respond to a neighbor complaint about burning and then go that route.
Yeah, that could be another condition, which I don't think he should object to, since he says he's not going to be burning on the property anyway.
Will the Vice
That
Chair
might help
yield?
address some of the concerns of the neighbors, too.
Will the Vice Chair yield the floor to the County Manager? Mr. Pope, I think one thing a suggestion that could be helpful in the future, because sometimes we run into this with cottage industry applications where there may be some neighborhood opposition. I don't know that they have to be engineered sketches, but I think it would be helpful if applicants, particularly in a case like this, could sketch where their activities are going to take place, what kind, things that are pertinent to what's required of the standards, the special development standards in the ordinance. And then that way, that also serves as a reminder for compliance and enforcement when necessary, where if anything has to be field checked, that can be accommodated. And I kind of find this difficult to follow when I'm listening to it, because on the one hand, I think I've got a basic idea of what the applicant wants to do, but there are concerns, I think, that are legitimate by the neighbors. And the burning, I think there's a standard in here that relates to nuisances, especially dealing with smoke and glare and other things. And, if you're going to be a true cottage industry, you've got to sort of culture yourself into being something in between a normal residential home occupation and getting a commercial or industrial rezoning, or going to where it's already pre-zoned. But my only comment is I think in the future, when we get cottage industries, that some kind of sketch that would give meaning to the P&Z commissioners, the county commissioners, the public, and concerned neighbors would be helpful by the applicant.
Okay, do I need to repeat this?
Any other discussion or questions? If not at this time, the chair would entertain a motion.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this conditional reuse of a cottage industry. I guess we'll add in another condition with saying that there'll be no burning, and if Mr. Bragg agrees with it, and him putting up a fence. If Mr. Bragg agrees with this, would that be okay, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, you can put that in whether he agrees with it or not.
Okay, well, let's put
Yeah.
that in. Let's put that in. And then,
Just as a suggestion for clarification, you might want to specify the burning of commercial wood debris. I don't know if you want to overregulate the burning of like yard debris, ordinary yard debris and things like that, but certainly commercial wooden debris or vegetative debris might be it might be better and more appropriately stated, just because everybody's going to burn a little yard waste when they're out in the country.
whatever you said.
Yeah. Why don't you, it might be better if you say no burning related to the business on the property.
Gotcha.
Would that be, and that way you don't get into trying to define what commercial means. And
We got it now? I'm good.
You want to state the motion, Jeff?
well, I think the motion to approve the conditional use with the first condition, I'm assuming is still in there. Vehicles pertaining to business operations shall be kept behind an enclosed fence or buffer area. And then the second condition is there shall be no burning related to
Business.
the business operations allowed on the property.
We have a motion by Commissioner Simmons. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 5-0 in favor. All right, any of y'all want to leave? Any of y'all want to leave, we'll give you time to, before we get into the next conditional use. our second item is Zacchaeus and Sherry Grant have applied for a conditional use to operate a family personal care home at 2707 Clipperica Road. Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. This parcel tonight is 6.31 acres. Again, the requested use is for a family personal care home. It is located on Clipperica Road. As you see, relative general areas, northeast Bulloch County. This is the property is shown on the zoning map. Area zoning is Ag 5, one smaller parcel, R80, and again on Old River Road. This is an aerial of the parcel, and these are site photos when we place the zoning sign on the property. And then there is a dwelling already on the property. So staff recommends approval. We do have one condition, and then planning and zoning recommended approval by a 5-0 vote. So with that, I'll ask the applicant, Mr. or Ms. Grant, if y'all could, one of you step to the podium.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yes, any questions, concerns?
Could you describe the nature of the personal care home for the benefit of the commissioners, please?
Yes,
How you're
sir.
going to operate?
Yes. So this home is basically for elderly clients that I have. I presently currently run an elderly daycare here in Statesboro on Northside Drive. And basically, I have a couple of clients that need places to live, and I just decided to open up this care home for them to have somewhere to live. And it will be housed only like 4 individuals.
Are there any other questions?
I do have one, and I'd just like to clarify this each time on one of these projects here.
Yes.
It's for elderly people, right? It's not, because we have had in the past people to say that, and then it becomes a problem with,
No, it's
So-
it's for the elderly that's at my day center.
okay, that's all I want to know.
You do have license
For,
to house to do what you do?
well, I have to go through this process first before I can
Okay,
get the license for the home.
yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
No one else has signed up in opposition. Is there any discussion by the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the conditional use.
All right, we have a motion to approve with conditions.
Yes, sir.
Second.
We have a second.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion more at this time? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. It's approved 5-0. Our next item on the agenda is Ms. Penny Neesmith as an agent for Penny Property Assets LLC has applied for a conditional use to allow additional principal building on a single lot. The property is located on 117 Dodge Circle. Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. This lot, or this parcel, is just over half an acre at .68 acres. It is currently zoned highway commercial. This agenda item and the following agenda item will concerns the same property, so you'll see some of the same photos in the next one. But in highway commercial zoning, you have a couple of different standards that for this instance, having more than one home on a lot, you don't necessarily see that too often, but highway commercial is typically where the requests do occur. But this is the location of the property. It's just north of Statesboro. One boundary of the property is next to the city limits of Statesboro. This is the zoning map for the property, and as you'll see, highway commercial zoning nearby up to 301, and then some single-family zoning nearby or in the neighborhood. This is an aerial of the property, so there is some highway commercial activity just to the south of this parcel, which has the frontage on Highway 301. But this access for the property is on, again, just on Dodge Circle. And this is the proposed location for the second home. There is already one structure or one single-family structure on the property on the south side, as shown here. The setbacks for highway commercial are a little less than in a typical residential zoning. And that's an applicant photo. And so this would be the general location of where that where the applicant is proposing to locate the structure. And then the structure you see in the back, that's what's already there on the parcel. So in terms of likeness for the property, and maybe item number 4 would consider that being a manufactured home. There is a manufactured home on the property. So again, that was site photos. So with that, I'll ask Ms. Penny to come to the podium, and I guess if you will, give us a rundown for the application.
Thank y'all for hearing us out. Yeah, that's the one I wanted to point out. On this photo here, our lot is in the red. We have a mobile home, a single-wide mobile home, on our .68 lot. And it is in one corner. He can show you in a minute on the little site map or the little proposed map. Yeah, the one at the bottom is existing already, and then we would like to put another small single-wide mobile home at the top of the property. Now go back to the other one, Mr. Pope. This is an area where most all of the lots out there are .34, and they already have mobile homes or duplexes, all rental property area. There is a large mobile home park just off of the Pamela Way over there, North Point Mobile Home Park. So it's not like it would be detrimental to the area. I mean, it would be in common with what's already there. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. And I have talked to Mr. Marlon Thomas at the Health Department. He came out, met with me, And there is room to put a septic system there, and the water would be supplied by MSO Water. He supplies that whole area out there, so we would have water and septic available. But it would be a small single wide, that we would put on there for rental property.
Any questions for Ms. Penny? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No one has signed up in opposition. Any discussion amongst the commissioners at this time?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Mosley.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Simmons. Any discussion at this time? All those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Our next item is number 4. Ms. Penny Neesmith, as agent for Penny Properties Assets LLC, applied for a conditional use to allow a manufactured home on highway commercial zone property. The parcel is also located on 117 Dodge Circle. Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Again, same property as the previous agenda item. This request is just for the ability to place a manufactured home on the property. And staff recommends approval of the conditional use, as well as, and I forgot to mention in the last one, but Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval by 3-2 vote, as well as they did in the previous one. But their recommendation is a 3-2 vote for approval. But with that, if Ms. Penny has anything else to say.
Basically the same thing.
No one has signed up in opposition. Any comments, questions by staff, commissioners? We'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Item number 5, Blue Water Bulloch LLC has submitted an application to rezone approximately 89.61 acres from R80 residential 80,000 square feet to PUD-1 Planning Unit Development 1 for the purpose of developing a mixed residential development, including single-family detached units and single-family attached townhome units. The property is located on Burkhalter Road. Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Again, as you stated, this rezone request specifically is for 89.61 acres, and the following agenda item is for 9.51 acres. It's the same development, just 2 different parcels. So, just, I guess, for consideration there. This is the location of the property. It's on Burkhalter. I guess we would say on the northwest or on the western side of US Highway 80. It is in the suburban neighborhood character area. And as shown here on the zoning map, this parcel except for one parcel nearby, it is on R80. So you could develop that property as an 80,000 square foot lot minimum. And again, access would be onto Burkhalter. There are, as shown on the site plan, wetlands on a fairly substantial portion of the property. However, no wetland impacts are proposed. And as you'll see, the single-family portion of the planned unit development is on the front side, on the Burkhalter side of the development, and the interior of the property would be the townhomes as proposed. The planned unit development plan that was submitted, by all appearances, does meet the ordinance for planned unit development based on the percentages that would be required for open space, certain amenities, things of that nature. And with that, staff recommend, or, well, if approval is granted, conditions are recommended. So staff does not, has not made a recommendation for or against, but we do have some conditions for consideration. And then Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a denial by a 5-0 vote. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant, Mr. Steve, or the agent, Mr. Steve Rushing.
You have the floor, Mr. Attorney Rushing.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Davis. We appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, James. That was a good summary. I am Steve Rushing, attorney here in town, and tonight, for this matter, I am representing the applicant, Blue Water Bulloch LLC. Its principals are folks that you know. They all are builders and developers here in town: Jason Franklin, Joey Cody, Kelly Brown, Randy Childs. Also present with me here tonight are the engineers for this project, Joey Maxwell and Ryan Poitras. I'm going to ask them to follow me and give you some more details about this type PUD, but I'm going to give you some general things. First of all, as a background, we don't normally like to bring two applications back to back, but this property was as an estate some years ago. One piece got separated, and then they got all purchased back by Honey Hollow LLC, which is the current owner of the property. And Honey Hollow is owned by Mr. Don Lanier, also local resident here in Statesboro. He's assembled it, but it still remained two tax parcels, which requires us to bring two applications, even though this is one project there on Burkhalter. When you add those two tracts together, we had them resurveyed, and it came to just over 99 acres. You see the rendering of our site plan there. If you counted all those units, there are 239 total. That's 101 single-family units and 138 townhome lots. On a 100-acre tract, a PUD would allow up to 10 units per acre. We're just under 2.5. And that's mainly, of course, by the large number of wetlands on the tract, but we do not, as Mr. Pope indicated, we will not be impacting any of the wetlands or any of the floodplains on the tract of land. Further location, this is about 1.25 miles from Highway 80, where Burkhalter intersects it. Between here and there are already the Old Indian Trail residential subdivision. And then right next to it is another PUD that this commission approved earlier this year. This PUD is very similar to that one. That one has single-family dwellings and townhomes, but that one also had some duplexes. This one would not. This is just single-family and townhomes. Again, I'm going to ask Ryan to probably give you a little more detail about the project, but it will be built in phases, starting with the single-family up front. Now, as you may already know, to achieve this project will require public water and sewer. Now, that first PUD that y'all approved earlier this year is bringing City of Statesboro Water and Sewer to that site, and then this project will take it from the first PUD to this site about 1 mile down Burkhalter. And that's what allows us to do this project, and those plans are already in the works. We did thoroughly review the departmental review, and it's dead on. It's very accurate. It did a great job. They did suggest 3 conditions, the first 2 of which we have no objections to. The third one, we would just prefer to follow maybe the current streetlight ordinance until it's officially changed, but that's our only comments on that. As for the comprehensive plan, which is another one of your main factors, this is in a suburban neighborhood character area, which allows and anticipates a PUD project, just like this one. We're going to have the single-family dwellings, townhomes, amenities that's been indicated there, open space. All that is why a PUD is preferred. I just remind you, we're going from one residential zone, the R80 residential zone, to the PUD zone that will allow us the greater density as a result of the planned city water sewer connection. That would also allow us to make just more efficient use of this land. As for the traffic, we were required to provide a traffic study, which was given to the staff. It studied Burkhalter Road all the way down to the intersection with Highway 80. It had only one requirement or suggestion, and that was a left turn lane northbound into the first entrance, which we had planned anyway, so we have no objections to that. That would give some aid to the traffic management. With that, I'm going to ask one of my engineers to step up and give you a little more detail, but if we run out of time, I certainly want to request this board to adopt the staff departmental review, which is supported by the comprehensive plan, and to approve our PUD zone that we've applied. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. Ryan Poythress from Maxwell Reddick and Associates. I'll be the civil engineer on this project. As Mr. Rushing stated, we are in compatible use with the comprehensive plan. Steve covered water and sewer and access here. We do have the traffic study, and those results we've put into our plan. He mentioned the turn lane required, which will be included in our design, does not warrant a right turn lane into the property, but does warrant the northbound left turn. The second driveway proposed does not warrant a turn lane per the traffic study. He mentioned water and sewer coming from the Adelaide subdivision and the Jackson tract just beyond our site down Burkhalter closer to Highway 80. The city has, we've been negotiating with the city on that from the beginning. And then the last item I'll add is stormwater. The project will discharge to Mill Creek. We will be meeting the standards for Bulloch County stormwater detention to mitigate downstream impacts. So if you guys have any additional technical questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Are there any questions for these gentlemen at this time?
Will the chairman yield to the county manager, please? Thank you. This question may be more so for Mr. Pope and Mr. Akins. Of course, I don't know that we've been in any kind of negotiation with the city of Statesboro on water and sewer extension, but what's the trigger or the threshold going to be? Because it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, you know, because ultimately we'll have to address the service delivery strategy. And even if the county commission agrees with the entitlement or approving the entitlement for the PUD, I don't know that our SDS agreement has service boundaries that are properly mapped for either the Burkhalter PUDs or what's going to be entertained tomorrow evening, I think, with, I think it's development going down 67 by Carrington. You know, what's the trigger going to be, if approved, for development permits and making sure that the SDS is appropriately amended?
James, do you want to address? I mean, I feel like you could amend it. I think, it can be amended any time that it's needed, is my understanding. So if these were approved, I think you could amend it to include this service area.
I think the way I recall that, that agreement specific to water and sewer was, it is somewhat guided by the future development map. And so as that area shows, or is suggested for water and sewer when available, that there's a specific paragraph in that agreement that would allow the city to run water and sewer to within that boundary of the comprehensive plan. And that's.
But I know we're getting finite and technical with it, but wouldn't there have to be boundary maps approved with SDS eventually? Because I know DCA is big about mapping services.
In 2029, the service delivery strategy will be required for an update. But I think as it stands now, it's kind of open-ended as long as it's tied to future land use map, or tied to the future land use map, that if the city was willing to run, they probably could.
Yeah. Well, if the private development is approved, I would hate to see the zoning approved, and then we're going down the road with development permits and things like that, and there's a snafu or a disagreement about SDS, and, that could, derail things. So, I think it's very important for, private developers to know that there are SDS considerations, and to make sure that when you're talking with the city, you got to keep the county in the loop so we're in sync, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to address.
Any other questions for these gentlemen?
We do have some signed up. Ms. Pam Davis.
Chairman and Board of Commissioners. My name is Pam Davis. I'm at 2840 Cleto Road, near Burke Calder and Cleto Road area. I drive this road often. I am here in opposition of this PUD development. I gave y'all a form earlier that had a map and also general criteria per the ordinance, which are laws of this county, Article 12, Section 1205, which is a general criteria for PUDs. Letter C states, a PUD shall be located on roads with a minimum classification or status of major collector. Per the Bulloch County Functional Classification map of the Bulloch County for the 2035 Long Range Transportation Plan, it clearly shows that the northeast of Highway 80, that side where it is being developed on, if you will look down to the yellow area, it said it is a rural minor collector. It is not as required to be a major collector. It has to be a major collector for a PUD to be on because of the actual transportation needed. Also, I know that they have paid for studies. That is not y'all's issue or my issue. The facts are that this road is not equipped to handle the 40% increase in traffic. I went to Publix today from my house. My husband and I were talking about it. On every other part of that road, Burke Calder Road, you have the fog line, the white line, the fog line, and then you have another 6 to 8 inches over there. This road does not have that. The grass is right up there to that line. You don't have that extra line. People have died on this road. This PUD is also going to require city water and sewer serving to be in close proximity. You are being asked to vote on this today, right now, right here. Do you have water and sewer? Can you show me on a map today where it is going to be run? Do you have access to run water and sewer to that area? You're being asked, told to put a $3 million thing there, but then a car there, and then you're gonna ask the next town over to bring you a diesel line to run your vehicle or tractor? That doesn't make sense. Also, section 1210, plan unit development has timelines. And substantial, under the section 1210, a substantial construction as determined by the planning director, if substantial construction has not been begun within 2 years after approval of the PUD, the approval of the PUD will expire. Are you gonna have water there in 2 years? Anybody can tell me that? Please, we are asking you today to oppose this. At this time, if you are here and opposed to this development, would you please stand? Commissioners, we respectfully request that you deny this PUD zoning. It should not be allowed on this road. They have no water and sewer plan or access to it at this time and date, today. There are too many ifs, ands, and buts. Thank you for following the laws and ordinances of this county and denying this request. We need smart growth, not rushed and iffy growth, if we get water here, if we did this. Also, the negatives are fire, EMS, schools, services are gonna be strained. Recreation was on there as a positive. I can tell you right now, that is putting people out onto a flood zone. A flood zone, do y'all know what just happened to us and flooding in our area? I've got wetlands. You're gonna have kids, 3, 5-year-olds running out in those wetlands? I have wetlands. I don't go out in the wetlands without my snake boots on. There are moccasins, copperheads, mosquitoes are gonna eat them alive. This is not the type of development we need back there in the back like that, in a flood zone and wetlands. Thank you for your time. And also, I would like to say, I think I've realized why I'm so upset about this. Still, when I see it, I worked at DFAX for 27 years. That right there can be your worst nightmare. Your nightmare, or not my nightmare, somebody's nightmare can be that. I don't know, but I'm just saying it. Thank you.
Lisa Sykes. Lisa Sykes.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I totally agree with Pam. I live on Burkhalter Road, and it is a very dangerous road. The intersections are terrible. I'm probably 6/10 of a mile from where this is wanting to be developed. That road is very dangerous because you're on a hill coming up. The bridge down there has not been repaired in who knows how many years. It used to be an old wooden bridge. I grew up on that road. My granddaddy owned that land, not the Bragg land, but where I'm at on Burkhalter. The traffic there is terrible. The intersection at 80, y'all have put a light up there. It needs turn lights. It is so dangerous from the tractor trailers, the commercial lawnmowers, trucks coming down the road, the tractors. There was a tractor combine that came down the road the other day. God bless him. He just did make it down the road and didn't tear the power lines down. But we appreciate all the farmers and what they do for us. But this is farmland out here. And it has been that way for a long time. And that development can be very dangerous for the people that want to live there, trying to get in and out of that intersection. And I wonder how long the traffic studies that were done, were there actually the lines put out there, and how long was it done? A traffic study in developments on these areas needs to be consistent for at least 9 months. That should be a mandatory thing, that we see the results of those tests, not that you just go and, okay, it looks good out there. No, we live on this road. This is a dangerous road. And with the other issue of the water, with the subdivision that y'all have approved for the PUD, how is that water going to get from down here to up here with Old Indian Trail subdivision and the houses that are there? How is that water getting from the city to there and up to here? How's that going to happen? Because all of us live in that route, and there's wetlands all behind Old Indian Trail and up there. And yes, the mosquitoes and the snakes and all of that are there. And it's just a bad thing. It's very bad that we're even talking about this. It breaks my heart because something bad is going to happen. I'm totally in agreement with Pam that this should not happen. Not at this not at that location. Go somewhere else. It just, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jenny Cox.
I hope I can say everything I want to say a minute. I just looked up what this rezoning is. It's a R80, and R80 is defined as a single-family residential zoning that aims to establish and maintain quiet and low-density neighborhoods. All the plot lots near there are all, most of them are all R80. And so to put a PUD right in the middle there is tragic, and there's no other PUD on Burkhalter on this side of 80. The water and the sewer that they're talking about, who's going to pay for that? My taxes went up 80% this year. Am I going to pay for that? I mean, I think the developers and the people who are making a profit should contribute to that, not me. I have no profit out of that. So with this very high number of people that are coming to live there, I found a factor of 3.2 per unit. That would make it close to 800 people living in that small area. That's just too many people. So I have some other questions, and I know I won't get answers, but besides the road and the water, they show a 50-foot barrier, but who's gonna protect the children and the pets from coming into my neighborhood or going across the street, or the wildlife that lives out there, the deer? How are we all gonna live like that? We live in a rural environment, and you can shoot guns. You can go hunting on your land. Are they gonna be allowed to go hunting? Are we gonna be allowed to go hunting? I mean, I don't understand. So, anyway.
Ma'am, time has expired. Please
Okay.
be brief.
All right, well, I oppose.
Thank you. Mr. Rushing, y'all have 3 more minutes if y'all would like to respond.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman, I don't think we'll need all of that. Certainly, in all due respect to Ms. Davis, who uses this road to get from her home over on Cleto Road, certainly there are folks that will be using this road, but as this county already knows that, and they know that, traffic is a consideration in any development, and that's why it was added into the ordinance. I think it was just last year that we are required to engage a traffic engineer to and pay for these folks to provide this study. It has been provided to the county staff. We're not required to send a copy to everybody in the neighborhood. We're following the rules, and the staff has reviewed that, and that is why they have made the one condition on this development. But we've used engineers as we were required by the county to address the traffic issue. And I believe that has been adequately done by those engineers. They can try to, second guess those engineers, but that's what they do for a living, and that's what we've complied with. Far as plans for the city water and sewer, those plans are already taking this water and sewer all the way to the city of Brooklet. And they are, bonds have already been sold, and we're just connecting in to the system that is already planned to come through. I'm going to let my engineer talk about exactly where it would travel, I presume along the right-of-way. But all of the infrastructure, including that water and sewer, is to be paid 100% by the developer, not by the county taxpayers, but by the developer. So that is already addressed. And finally, we are complying with the comprehensive plan that the county has adopted. This PUD falls right within this suburban neighborhood is what this area is in the comprehensive plan and the PUD, which is the mixed use and using green space and amenities. That's exactly what is anticipated in our future land use plan, and that's what we are trying to comply with. But thank you.
Just to speak to the route of the water and sewer that's discussed, it's already been approved and paid for by the developer to bring sewer from the current lift station down at the Greenway, the S&S Greenway and Kiwanis Road, bring it up the Greenway to the roundabout at 6 points there at the dump and the Amoco station, then up Burkhalter, across 80 and further up to the Adelaide subdivision. That has been approved and is in the works. Those plans are done. That is paid for by the developer, not by the taxpayers. But that is the route proposed, and it will follow the right of way, so it won't be, through anyone else's property. I believe easements are being secured for that. But if you have any other questions, let me know.
Do any of the commissioners or staff have questions for any of the applicants? If there are no questions, we'll entertain a motion at this time. Mr. Akins, do we handle both of these jointly or separately?
They need to be handled separately. Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion? If we have no motion, then this fails from lack of a motion.
Thank you.
Well, I think there probably needs to be a motion one way or the other. I think there needs to be a decision.
A motion not to is a do-nothing motion.
A motion not to what?
Well, if you're the legal representative here, we'll follow your lead.
Well, I think the board's obligated to decide one way or the other, but there needs to be, I think, more time to allow for a motion. We've never had that happen. I don't know. I'd have to research that, but I mean, I think.
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do I hear a second? Now, Mr. Akins, where are we going?
Well, if there's not a second, then the motion dies for lack of a second. I mean, you have to allow a reasonable time, I think, for a second, but if nobody was going to second, then it dies for lack of a second.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second? If there is no second, the motion dies from lack of a second. Number 6, Blue Water LLC has submitted an application to rezone approximately 9.51 acres from R80 residential, 80,000 square foot, to PUD-1 planned unit development for the purpose of developing a mixed residential development, including single-family detached units and single-family attached home units, town units. The property is located on Burkhalter Road. Mr. Pope.
Mr. Vice Chairman, before we approach that, if I understood correctly from the staff attorney, that there has to be some decision on the first one. The first motion died. What I understand is you have to entertain whether there's another motion. Am I right?
That's what we've always done previously. I mean, we've never had a situation where the board just wouldn't make a decision at all. Now, whether that's allowed or not, I've never really researched that, but obviously, if nobody's going to make a motion to approve, then it's not going to be approved. There's no action.
After the last motion died, I think he has to open it back up for another motion.
Well, I would agree. That's what I think we would normally do. Yeah, that's been the process in the past.
Open it back up for a motion on
Yeah,
number 5.
if you have a motion and it's not seconded, then that motion dies, but then you open it back up for another motion. Because they really need to make a decision one way or the other. The board does.
All right, the floor is now open for a motion.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we table this until we can answer some of the questions. I think, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Aiken or Mr. Rushing there, whether we could get some information on or some clarity between the city of Statesboro and the county as to when this will be taking place or whatever, give us a little bit more clarity on and help us with our decision making a little bit better. And I don't know if that would be permissible, but I would like for us to be able to table and then bring that back once we have some questions answered.
That's permissible. You can defer it for up to 45 days without the applicant's consent. So it could be deferred until the next, December 3rd would be the next meeting, I think, James, right?
I think, yes.
That's the next zoning meeting, other than tomorrow night, but we wouldn't want to do it tomorrow night.
I second that
Motion be to defer this until the December 3rd meeting?
Yes.
Is that the motion?
Second.
We have a motion to defer and a motion to second. All in favor, raise your right hand, so signifying. All opposed, same signal. 5-0, motion is tabled. Mr. Jeff, do I need to read it again? Number 6?
Well, in light of the fact that the first one's deferred, do y'all have any objection to them just going ahead and deferring the second one?
No, we would have no objection.
No.
Okay.
Do I need a motion to do that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Floor is now open for a motion to defer item number 6.
So moved, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If there are none, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Motion table, 5-0. Where we at? Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any other discussion or modification desired by the county manager or board?
County manager has none this evening, Mr. Vice Chair.
Any of the board members, commissioners? floor is now open to call for a motion to approve the general agenda.
So moved, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We now move to public comments.
Billy Anderson.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for your service. Congratulations. I know we're all ready to have that all behind us. Let me say this. I don't envy y'all's position. I know I've been in a similar spot that you guys are in. You are the dog that caught the car. I get it. This might get awkward for a second, but I want to make this very, very clear. If nothing else is heard, this is not personal, what I'm about to say. I tripped up on something that my conscience just will not let me not bring up. I think my conscience is just bigger than my wisdom today. I'll speak in generalities, but I'll get specific if I need to. If you request me to, I will. I'll say what I need to say. I think we can all agree that public trust with the development stuff has been lost, and it's been tumultuous. I don't think that's really anything that we would argue about. Trusting the process, trusting the decisions that are made, it goes into maintaining the validity of those decisions, where they're not challenged legally, where when somebody comes up here and something gets voted on, they know that it's going to be good. But I found a loophole that I have a concern about, and that loophole kind of showed itself through a real-life example that's sitting here glaring me in the face. Now, I need to say this very clear. I am not accusing anyone of doing anything illegal, anything wrong, or even unethical. I don't even think this would necessarily have even been known that it happened, okay? But the optics are really, to me, not very good. So I want to bring it forth so that maybe if the process can be tweaked, it might be something as easy as say, hey, let's fix this. This is something super easy to fix. Basically, y'all know that state law says that on the applications for rezoning, you know, the applicant and their representatives have to state if there's campaign donations in the last 2 years before the application. Well, it doesn't say anything about if there's campaign donations after the application and before the vote. So there's this window of time that's not accounted for. So if no one says, hey, I made a donation, then how's anybody supposed to know about that? I've got a real life example sitting here in front of me, and I'm not even saying anything's happened with this nefarious. It just looks bad. And I purposely did not bring this up at Monday's meeting because it was election night, election eve, and that was not the appropriate time to do this. I think that probably need to address it so that if donations are made to campaigns going forward, I mean, when somebody comes up here as an applicant or their agent and their business has made a donation and it's one of very few donations, it's not a good look. So if maybe there's some mechanism that can be put in place in the future to say, look, if you've made a contribution, there needs to be some way for that to be required or at least asked. Because there's a long period of time since June when a couple of donations were made since votes that will be had tomorrow night. And I didn't really want to get into specific about the actual development because it's really not about that development. It's about the process. So I would do this. All I can do is ask. You guys will have to use your judgment on what's appropriate. Is you know, one of my favorite terms is the spirit of the law. I love that term because that means we're acknowledging that there's gray area, that we can't write laws and codes to match every situation. Okay, so you were supposed to put everything before today. Well, I waited 4 days and I made a campaign donation, okay? The spirit of the law is it's about ethics. And if nobody declares those donations any other time, it looks pretty bad. And it goes against the ethics and the spirit of that law. So I would humbly and respectfully ask that if anybody's received campaign donations from an applicant, their representatives, or the businesses owned in part or in whole by applicant in the last 2 years before a vote, I'm humbly asking you to recuse yourself from those votes. And I'm not requiring, I'm not demanding, I am asking you humbly to do that. To build public trust back, to ensure that in the future when someone does get an approved rezoning, they know it's ironclad and it's not going to get attacked legally, because I've just pointed out the big loophole. And that's all I had to ask. I'll leave it for you guys to discuss. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Lisa Sykes. Lisa Sykes.
I'll let him continue. He can take my time.
I do have something I'll add to that, because I think this is the benefit to all of us. The other part of that law, and this is something that's kind of hidden, and we don't all know all the laws and all the codes, but this is to protect everybody. I'm saying it out loud so everybody can hear it, because a lot of the folks that need to hear it are in this room, including me, is if you oppose a zoning, you also have a requirement to disclose campaign donations. And there's a time requirement, so many days, I think it's 5 days ahead of the hearing. Yes, that's put in the postings in the Statesboro Herald, but I don't buy the Herald and most people don't. So I'm saying that for the public's good. There are difficult codes and things that we have to go by that are hard to navigate, because we really don't have a great system to deal with that. So I'm saying that as the public, if you oppose something and you have made campaign donations, I want this thing to be above reproach so that nobody can accuse anybody of anything. Let's see if I had any other notes on that. I did have a question. Do you guys, and I know there's some bright line rules on the ethics and say it's property ownership with zoning and recusing yourself, but do you all know where is the line of when you should recuse yourselves? Mr. Drake, is there a bright line rule for that?
Well, I mean, not really, although, I mean, obviously, if a commissioner or somebody in his or her family is the applicant, they obviously have to recuse themselves in that situation.
Sure.
If they own property next door that could be significantly affected by the decision, they probably would need to recuse themselves. Beyond that, I would say it's probably gets into some gray areas.
Sure.
Where they, if they didn't feel comfortable, but I just know in the past, sometimes, somebody wants to recuse themselves because they know people on both sides of the issue or they're friends with them or whatever.
Yep.
That I don't think is a legitimate grounds to recuse yourself. I think because if you don't have a legitimate grounds, you really need to participate in the decision. But, it's kind of a gray, it moves from black and white to a little kind of gray, and then it gets to, along that arc, would get to a point where, okay, you really don't have a legitimate reason to recuse yourself in this case. But
right. So
that makes sense.
Yes, it does, and I completely understand that. Which kind of leads me to my logic, which is why is that question on the application, right? Because it's part of Georgia code that those disclosures get made.
Right, they are required to be made. I don't think they're required to recuse themselves, though. It's just because somebody.
Understood.
Yeah, they're just, and as far as opponents, I mean, that's why we put it in the ad. I don't know what else we can do there. I mean, we can't.
Right. I guess what I'm saying, that's kind of why I led this off by, there's a loophole here. We've got something that I think could be a problem potentially. I'm not saying it will be tomorrow, but it could be. If the law says you must declare before the application is submitted, well, there's nothing after that. I can just go write checks. And it just looks bad. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. That's kind of the point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Well, we might could look at, that's a state law, so there's a question of whether that preempts any local ability to change it or add to it. I think we probably could make it stricter. We just couldn't make it less strict. So, but I don't know if that's been a problem. I don't know that it has. I guess you're saying of one instance where that happened maybe, but
well,
I don't know. I mean, normally applications are heard fairly quickly, so there's not a lot of lag time, but
well, I'm going to do what I probably shouldn't do and shoot myself in both political feet. And I do not believe that you even knew there was an application pending. So, Mr. Mosley, I will say that. So please do not take this personal. The application that's being decided on tomorrow night, that's on Highway 67 in front of Carrington South, Mr. Williams, he owns Plantation Properties. One of 4 donations that were not commissioner donations from that inside was made by Plantation Properties, and 4 days later, that application, the donation was made 4 days after the application was filled out, claiming no donations. So legally, it was fine. Their representatives are also in that same situation. I don't want to call names because I put myself in a sticky situation. But it just looks bad. Thank you.
yeah, I might point out too, Mr. Anderson, that as you rightfully pointed out, it's the applicant or the opponent who's supposed to make the disclosure, not the commissioners, because they may have gotten a contribution. I've never run for commissioner and don't ever plan to, but they may get donations from people and not even remember. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't put the burden on them to make the disclosure. It puts the burden on the applicant or the opponent.
Lawton Sack.
I'll defer.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Do we have any comments by any of the commissioners or any of the staff?
I would make one comment toward Mr. Anderson's statement, and I agree everything he said, and I want everything to be fair and square all the time. I by no means do I ever want to lead anybody astray, and I try not to. I did not know that, but morally, when I was elected to be here, I was elected to go vote and to sit this chair. And I probably should recuse sometimes when I don't, but if it ain't family, I do not recuse myself because I was put here by the citizens to make a vote and make a decision. I don't know if that's wrong or if that's right. I really don't know the actual lawful answer to that, but that's the way I feel personally, is that I was chosen by the people not to recuse myself anytime something tough comes up or a friend shows up or, I miss Don Lanier sitting here tonight. I've known him all my life. I've been put in this chair to make decisions, and I think that's the way all these gentlemen feel. Now, am I saying is there a loophole like you said? Is there something I've missed and looked over? I guarantee you there is. But that's just the answer I'm trying to give you, just so you don't feel like you come up here and talk to dead ears. I understand what you're saying. I never knew that was there. Never crossed my mind, honestly.
I appreciate that.
And but I feel, as far as recusing yourself and knowing the ins and outs on that, if it's not family, the way I feel personally as a commissioner is I was chose to make a decision. And no matter if you hurt your friends, you hurt your family, there's 100 people here, 50 of them's for it, 50 of them's against it. 50 of them ain't gonna like you. at the end of the day. So, like I said, we're chosen to sit in these seats and make decisions, and I think that's what always has been reflected to me from the elders on the board. But thank you. I do appreciate your comments.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'd like to speak to that as well, and I appreciate what Commissioner Kerner said. And I ran the race on integrity, and I will go to my grave believe that that's the way it should be done. So if I've erred in some way, I'll make it right. If there's something come up, because I can tell you that I have had a developer who, and I'm not disclosing the name, who gave me a contribution. It was within the time to vote. And I can prove legally because what I did is I returned that donation. I could have easily kept it. I will run on integrity. You call me out, and I'm elected by the citizens. I always believe in doing what is right, even if it's after the fact. My parents taught me there's never a time that you should not look, and if you can make something right. So you brought that out, was not known to me, but like I said, I ran on integrity, and if an instance come up and I know about it, I will recuse myself. I go on record saying that. So thank you.
Any other comments? On a personal note, today is my wife's birthday. I asked Jeff to sing happy birthday. He declined, but I can't say the language she used. I now would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Meeting is adjourned. We appreciate all y'all coming and your patience. Thank you.